Welcome back to Bookish Reshuffle, your weekly literary deep dive where we shuffle through the stories behind the stories. I'm your host, and today's episode is one for the curious readers, the ones who not only devour books, but also crave the lives behind the lines. Ever wondered what made your favorite authors tick? Dive into the minds of literary giants with these must-read biographies that reveal the hidden stories behind the books you love. From tragic poets to tortured geniuses, from the salons of Paris to the quiet drawing rooms of England, today we're unpacking the best literary biographies for book lovers. For avid readers, delving into the lives of their favorite authors can be just as rewarding as reading their work. You see the fingerprints of real pain, joy, politics, love, even madness, all across their fiction and poetry. Biographies offer context. They make you reread a book with new eyes. These stories aren't just literary, they're human. So let's reshuffle the bookshelf and look at some of the best. First up, modern literary icons, the 20th century names that still shape today's literature. The Paris Wife by Paula McLean isn't your typical biography. It's a fictionalized account of Ernest Hemingway's first wife, Hadley Richardson. But it reads with such intimacy and precision that you feel like you're walking the streets of 1920s Paris with them. McLean captures the electricity of the lost generation, the expat community of artists and writers who defined an era. Through Hadley's eyes, we see Hemingway before he became a legend, ambitious, volatile, and deeply human. It's about the birth of modernist literature, but also about marriage, sacrifice, and the often painful price of being tied to genius. The Life and Times of Sylvia Plath by Anne Stevenson offers a nuanced, non-sensational take on one of literature's most misunderstood figures. Rather than focusing solely on Plath's tragic end, Stevenson explores her remarkable intellect, her fierce ambition, and her revolutionary approach to confessional poetry. The biography contextualizes her work within the stifling gender expectations of mid-century America and Britain. Stevenson doesn't gloss over the darkness, but she balances it with deep respect for Plath's creative brilliance and lasting literary impact. Finally, Oliver Sacks' The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat might seem an unusual choice. It's not a standard biography, but this collection of case studies by the renowned neurologist reveals something profound about creativity and consciousness. Sacks writes with remarkable empathy about patients with neurological conditions that transform their perception of reality. For anyone curious about the psychological foundations of imagination and narrative, this is a brainy, beautiful must-read. Sacks shows us how the brain constructs stories, and in doing so, illuminates the biological roots of literary creation itself. Each of these works offers a different window into the 20th century's literary landscape, from the cafes of Paris to the depths of the human mind. Now, let's step back in time and talk about the literary legends whose work has stood the test of centuries. If you want to understand the foundations of modern biography itself, you must start with James Boswell's Samuel Johnson. Published in 1791, this monumental work essentially invented literary biography as we know it. What makes it extraordinary is Boswell's intimate access. He was Johnson's friend for over 20 years and documented conversations, habits, and opinions with remarkable detail. Johnson emerges not as a distant historical figure, but as a brilliant, troubled, and deeply human individual whose wit and wisdom leap off the page. The biography captures Johnson's towering intellect alongside his peculiar mannerisms and periodic melancholy, giving us a portrait that feels startlingly modern despite being over 2 centuries old. Claire Tomalin's Jane Austen: A Life brilliantly reconstructs the world of one of literature's most beloved yet enigmatic figures. Tomalin's research is meticulous, piecing together Austen's life from the limited records available. No small feat considering how many of Austen's letters were destroyed after her death. What emerges is far from the prim spinster of popular imagination. Instead, we meet a sharp-minded woman with a rebellious streak and biting humor, navigating the severe limitations placed on women in Regency England. Tomalin connects Austen's personal experiences, family financial precarity, thwarted romance, and her observations of the marriage market, directly to the themes that would make her novels revolutionary. The Letters of Virginia Woolf offers something different, direct access to one of modernism's greatest minds in her own unfiltered words. Across 6 volumes, we witness Woolf's extraordinary intellect, her emotional volatility, and her evolving artistic vision. The letters reveal her literary judgments, often wickedly funny and cutting, alongside tender exchanges with loved ones and colleagues in the Bloomsbury Group. They document her struggles with mental illness with unflinching honesty, showing how she transformed personal suffering into some of the most innovative fiction of the 20th century. Reading these letters is like eavesdropping on literary history being made, offering insights into works like Mrs. Dalloway and To the Lighthouse that no secondhand account could provide. These biographies don't just tell us about famous writers, they show us how literature itself evolved, and how the personal and historical circumstances of these figures shaped what we read today. Let's switch gears with some rapid-fire recommendations from our listeners who've written in with their favorite literary biographies. C.S. Lewis, A Life by Alistair McGrath, deserves your attention whether you're a Narnia enthusiast or simply curious about one of the 20th century's most influential Christian thinkers. McGrath's meticulous research corrects previous biographical errors and explores the fascinating intersection between Lewis's intellectual journey from atheism to faith and his creative output. The biography illuminates how Lewis's personal experiences, from childhood loss to late-life love, infused his fantasy worlds with such emotional resonance and spiritual depth. There you have it. 6 powerful biographies, each one peeling back the curtain on the writers we love and the worlds they built. If you've ever read a novel and wondered about the flesh and blood person behind those carefully crafted words, these books offer profound insights that will transform your reading experience. Literary biographies remind us that great works don't emerge from nowhere. They're born from messy lives, historical circumstances, personal struggles, and occasional triumphs. Understanding these contexts doesn't diminish the magic of literature. It enriches it. If you enjoyed today's episode, please hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a review, share with your bookish friends, and follow Bookish Reshuffle across all platforms. Your support helps us continue bringing these literary deep dives to fellow book lovers.